All right, this is now Appendix Group Work number 2. It is a little longer than Group Work number 1. I will go through it. The good thing about video is that if I go too fast, you can pause it and go through it again. So let's go ahead and get started. Construct a parallelogram with sides of the line segments to be given and the angle to be given. Okay, so one of the angles is given. I'm going to use this angle as the angle between these two sides, okay, as the base. So first thing you're going to do is draw where your base would be, and I'm going to label these as A, B, A, D, and this is angle A. So here is where A prime will be. All right. Again, I always start with the longest. So here is AB. I copy it over on my line segment. So here is B prime. Now I need to copy this angle. All right. So how do I copy an angle? First thing you do is draw a dummy arc. Okay. Same dummy arc around A prime. Measure from one ray to the other ray across the arc that you just drew. Move, put it at the base. Mark across the ray that you just, around the dummy arc you just drew. Then I draw in that ray. So there's the angle A. Now I measure AD and I mark AD from A prime. So this is where the point D is going to be, but I need to find C. And that means that AD has to be parallel to BC. So I'm going to go to B and I'm going to mark that length AD. Okay? So this is D prime. All right? Now, how do I find the length here? How do I know where on this arc is C? Well, the way I do that is I go back and I measure AB. I go to D prime and I mark. So this is the point C prime. And then I draw in my parallelogram. Now in the homework, you don't have a specific angle being given, so you just have to pick your D prime is going to be anywhere on this arc. All right, so that is how to construct a parallelogram. Number 2, how to find the mid-segment. What is the mid-segment? It is the line segment between two midpoints. In specific, it's going to be the midpoint on AC and the midpoint on AB. Well, how do you find the midpoint? You find the perpendicular bisector. That is the midpoint. It bisects. Go a little bit now. I'm using the same dummy arc that's bigger than both AB and AC. Okay, so I go to C. I draw an arc. Now, again, I turn my paper when I do this. I go to B. I draw an arc. Now, remember, it wants to cross this. Doesn't want to cross that one. I go to A. I draw an arc. Now, my arc around A is going to be almost a semicircle because I want it to cross the arc around C and the arc around B. Okay? So when I draw a line connecting these two, that's going to tell me the midpoint of AB. Now, instead of drawing in the complete line, all I like to draw is just a little mark, big enough that I can see it. Then when I connect this one and this one, okay, because those are on the same two arcs, then that's going to tell me the midpoint of AC. The mid-segment then connects those two. Now I'll turn it right side up so you can see it. Okay, so that's the mid-segment between AC and AB. Now, how do you find the median? The median is from the midpoint of AC to the vertex B. So I need to find the midpoint of AC. Again, I'm going to go a little bit bigger than the middle, draw an arc around C, go to A, draw an arc around A, draw a tick mark because that's going to be my midpoint, right? But my median is actually going to be from the vertex B to that midpoint. Okay, so that's going to be the median. So this is the median. Okay. Now, I want to copy this line segment 4 times. In order to do that, I need a fairly long baseline. So as you hear the rustling and me moving, that's because I'm trying to get a longer ruler. Okay, so I'm going to use a longer ruler than just my 6-inch ruler to draw a huge long line segment. Then I'm going to pick my starting point. So if this is A and this is B, I want it to be 4 times this length. So this is A prime. I measure AB, go to A prime and mark. Mark, that's 2, 3, 4. So this is now B prime. And so this line segment is now 4 times as long as the given one. Okay? Alrighty. Find the circumcenter of the triangle and circumscribe the triangle. So the circumcenter is the intersection of perpendicular bisectors. Okay? So again, I'm going to go a little bit longer than my longest side, and I'm going to draw semicircles around each vertex. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move the camera. I'm going to try to move it so that you can still see me do this, but so there's a semicircle, and the B did not go far enough. Okay, there we go. All right. Now, how can you tell which goes with which side? Notice that if I trace this line segment and if I trace these 2 arcs, that they center around BC. So that's going to be that perpendicular bisector. Okay, I'm looking for this shape, almost a teardrop, and I'm connecting the endpoints of it. Okay, now this right here is my circumcenter. Okay, now to circumscribe my triangle, I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to go to a vertex. It doesn't matter which one. Okay, and you can tell that it's not going to go all the way to C. Then the way that I do this is I rotate my paper. So I put it down at B, and I'm going to pick up my stack, and I'm going to rotate my paper around. Now, I do have a different compass that I can stick a pin in. Another thing that you can do is you can stick a colored pencil. If you undo this and you take this out and you grab a colored pencil You can stick a colored pencil in there. The way that you check is you want to make sure that the point goes down. Okay, so then I can mark my answer in a different color so it's easier to be seen. Now, I will have to say that the colored pencil is sliding around in here because it's not quite as thick. Mine is outgrown because these are mechanical pencils, so they're a little bit bigger than a normal pencil. But you can use a colored pencil in your compass, if this is your type of compass, to get that measurement, to get that so that it looks a little different. Okay? And to me that helps. It helps me to see that that's what my answer is. All right. Now, how to break a line segment into 3 equal parts. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a line. So if I call this AB, okay, I'm going to draw a line, any line, through A at any angle, I don't care. Then you want a dummy arc, okay? And you're going to use that dummy arc 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. All right? So this is going to be C. Let's call this C2, and let's call this C1, and we'll call the last one C3. All right? Then you want to connect B to C3. All right? Still keeping that dummy arc. I'm still keeping that dummy arc. So then I'm going to go to B, and I'm going to mark that dummy arc from B. And I'm making it fairly long so that, because I don't know where my next mark is going to cross. Okay? Now, I have 2 compasses, okay? What you're going to want to do next, so I'm going to set the one that has my dummy arc to the side because I'm going to need that dummy arc again. If you only have one, then you're going to see you're going to have to measure it again. Taking my second compass, I measure CB, C3B. I move to C2, and I mark that measurement across my dummy arc from before. Then I'm going to move to C1, and I'm going to mark that measurement down below C1. Okay? I'm going to take my dummy arc that I had before, so I've gone back, and this is the dummy arc between C2 that I used up here. Okay, that's that dummy arc. I'm going to move it down to this mark that I made. That was the intersection of C2, C3B was the length of the arc, but I marked it from C2. And I'm going to cross it across my C3B length from C1. Okay? Then I'm going to connect each of these, and that breaks the line segment into 3 equal parts. 1, 2, 3. They may not look equal, but they actually are. If you look at the measurements and you take your ruler and you actually measure them, you'll see that they're fairly close. Okay? But if you measure this line segment and break it into 3 equal parts, and that's all you do without all of this work, then you will not receive credit. And when I say no credit, I mean a 0. Your work and your credit to show that you know what you're doing is using your compass and your straight edge. All right. Next, we have, we're going to perform operations of angles. Okay, so the question is, I give you angles A and B, and you are to find angle C so that it's A plus B, or angle C so that it's 2A minus B. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick angle C on your rays that are given to you. Okay? Now, this is hard to do because I don't have a lot of room for camera room. Take a compass, and you're going to want to create a dummy arc around A, compass is not right. Okay, so I want a dummy arc around A. I want the same dummy arc around B. I want the same dummy arc around each of the C's. Okay? And I'm making it 180 degrees, okay? And I want to do it around both C's. All right? Now, I work these two questions together. Okay? So question A says to make angle A plus angle B. Question B is angle A minus B. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to measure angle A across from one ray to the other, across that dummy arc. Okay? I'm going to go to C. Now I'm doing it from the right side because we typically measure from the right side to the left is how we measure angles. So I'm going to measure from the right side, so that is angle A. Then I'm going to go to part B and I'm going to do angle A. Now where that angle A was made, I'm going to do a second angle A because it's two angle A's. All right, so now I've measured. So this is the measure of angle A. This is the measure, is 2 measure of angle A. And this is the measure of angle A. Now, I'm going to take my compass up. I'm going to measure angle B. Now, because these are all the same dummy arcs, I can just use it on the same arc. Okay, now if you use a different dummy arc for each one, then you have to do a different, it has to be the same dummy arc for B as you put down here. Okay, but I use the same dummy arc for all of it. That way I don't have to do different ones. So I measure angle B. I go, because I'm adding B, I go up here to angle A and I add. Now I'm subtracting. So let me complete this one. So this is the measure of angle B and I added it on. So my final angle for part A will be this angle right here. Okay, almost 90 degrees, not quite. Right? Now for part B, I'm subtracting B. So I'm going to go to where it says 2 measure of angle A, but I'm going to go back the other direction because I'm subtracting it. So this right here is minus the measure of angle B. And that is my final answer. Okay? Now, number 8. Inscribe the triangle. To inscribe a triangle, the incenter is the intersection of the angle bisectors. Okay, so what I have to do is I need to find an angle bisector on each of the 3 angles. So I'm going to pick a dummy arc, and I want it fairly small. I don't want it huge. The bigger the dummy arc, so if I do a dummy arc that's way out here, then the dummy arc for B is going to interfere with the dummy arc for C. So I do it fairly small so that they're not interfering with each other. Draw a dummy arc. Okay, go to where that dummy arc crosses the one base and make another dummy arc. Same thing, crosses the other one, and I get a little X. If I connect that X to the vertex, that is the angle bisector for B. Okay, now I need to do that for C. So still keeping the same dummy arc. You can make a different one, but I find it easier just to keep the same. I don't like to move my compass more than I have to. So when I'm working homeworks and stuff, I actually have a compass that has just a small dummy arc on it that I use for all of the assignments. Okay, do a dummy arc for A. Then draw in that angle bisector. Okay. Now, if you notice, mine didn't line up exactly, but it's close enough. It'll work. And this is my end center, is where all of these intersect. So that's my end center. Then you're going to measure from your end center to your side. Okay? And I kind of check, I spin it around and make sure. Then you make your circle. And again, if you want to, you can change to where you have a colored pencil so that it's a different color, or a pen if your compass will hold a pen. Because my pens have grips on them, it won't. So there is my end circle. All right, my inscribed triangle. All right, use the line segment to construct a square. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but as this group work goes on and on and on, we are getting harder and harder and more involved questions. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw your base. And I draw just a big long line. If this is A and this is B, I'm going to put A here. Okay. Now, the reason I put it more in the middle is you're going to measure AB. Now, I'm going to mark it on both sides because I need to find a perpendicular through A. I'm also then going to go to B and mark it out a little, and I'm going to have to extend my line. Okay, I have to find, so this is B, right? This is B prime, this is A prime, and this is AB. So this is the base of my square, the bottom side of my square. Now, I have to make a perpendicular bisector through B prime and one through A. I need a line perpendicular. That's why I did the 2 tick marks on the outside. Okay, so it's a little harder to see. I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to keep, so this is my measurement of AB. Again, since I have 2 compasses, I'm going to go get my other one. So I want to go a little bit bigger than AB, mark above and below A, go here, and I'm also going to go to A and mark above and below because I need to make a perpendicular around B. Go to B, cross the ones above A, go to this far out point and cross the ones above B. Okay, so then I've just made perpendiculars around those. Now I'm going to draw my perpendicular lines. All right. Now I take my measurement of AB. I'm going to mark it from A prime. I'm going to mark it from B prime. So this point is C prime and this point is D prime. I can connect them and then I can draw my sides in. And there is my square. Okay? Oh, woohoo! All right. Now, for 10, copy the figure. The first thing you're going to want to do is make a hexagon. So right now, I'm just checking to make sure that I have a big enough space on my paper. So how do you make a hexagon? You make a circle. All right. Now I'm going to, so here's the center of my circle. Right. I'm going to just make a hexagon where I go around the sides. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doesn't quite match up, but it's close enough. Okay, I'm going to, because I want the outline of a hexagon, I'm going to draw this in pen. It will also help me to work with it later because it will be in pen. All right. Now, in using my pencil, I'm going to draw the diagonals of the hexagon. Okay, now I'm going to take my compass and I want a smaller circle. And so I'm just going to draw, and so let me move it so you can see. So I've got my hexagon, I've got my diagonals drawn. Now I'm going to draw a smaller circle inside because I need to find some midpoints of each of these line segments. Okay, I need to find the midpoints of each of these line segments. Now let's hope I didn't do it. Oh, yikes. All right, let's see if we can erase, because they're a little too small to see. So I'm going to erase these, erase my circle. It's a little small. I need it to be a little bigger so you can see it. See, we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. We may like to think of ourselves as perfect, but I do not know any currently alive person that is perfect. Okay, now let's do this again. We're going to make our circle a little bit bigger this time. Okay, so there we have our circle inside. Now I'm going to go to each of these endpoints and I'm going to draw a circle around each of these endpoints. Now notice I'm going fairly big around. I'm almost making circles around each endpoint because I have to find the midpoints of not only these diagonal points, but I also have to find the midpoints of the sides. Okay? All right. So now, see, I have to find the midpoint of this side and I have to find the midpoint of this side. Now I'm going to use little tick marks to mark them, not full-fledged lines. Okay? So if I find these two, its midpoint's here. And if I find these two, its midpoint's here. Okay, so that's the midpoints of those. Now I need to find the midpoints of the half of the diagonals. All right, so now I've got all my midpoints found. Now what I need to do is, and these are at the midpoint, so these points are at the midpoint. So that's a midpoint, that's a midpoint. So now I need to draw in my finished thing. So I'm going to connect this midpoint to this one, and then it goes across the diagonal, and then it's this midpoint to this one. Okay? Then I go midpoint to midpoint, right? Okay. And then I just kind of color it in, but enough so that you can still see what's underneath. Yeah, that's right. And so that's what it looks like. With all the pencil marks underneath, I leave it alone. Okay? Now, we have one last question in this group work, and it is to construct an octagon. How do you find the central angle of an octagon? Well, the central angle is the same, you find it the same way as the external angle. So the central angle equals 360 degrees divided by 8, because an octagon has 8 sides. So that is 4 gets me 32, that's 40. So it's a 45-degree angle. Okay, well, then you need to know that a 45-degree angle is half of 90 degrees. Okay, so that's the other thing we need to do. Now, first thing you're going to want to do, draw a circle. Woohoo! And my circle is messed up because I hit the post. Okay, so you draw a circle. And if I could draw a circle, it would be a good thing. Deep breath. Try not to hurry. All right. Okay. Third time, or the fourth time, or the fifth time is the charm, right? Eventually, we're going to get a circle done. It keeps hitting the post for the camera. All right, let's try a little smaller. And I've pulled it way away so you can't see me draw the circle as my compass. That's part of my problem. My compass is moving. We're going to try again. This is why you have to buy a good compass. This compass is old or is warped because my daughter loves to play with it, so she has warped it. So we're going to try the other one. That's a little tighter, and you can tell it's tighter because it's harder to move. All right, we have a circle. Woohoo! We have a winner. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, next what we need to do is I'm going to mark my center of the circle. So there's my center, even though I have a bunch of hole pricks in this paper. Then I'm going to draw a diameter. Now, I am deliberately drawing this off the center, okay? Now, what I need to do is I need to draw a perpendicular bisector of this diagonal. So I'm going to go to one edge of the circle and make it a little bigger than my circle. I'm going to go to the other end of my diameter and I'm going to make a mark. So this is going to be my perpendicular bisector. Okay. And notice I went all the way through my circle when I did that, so I have an X in the middle of my circle. Now, that means that each of these are 90 degrees, right? Now, I need a 45 degrees, so I need to cut all of these segments in half. So I'm going to draw a, I need perpendicular bisectors. I need angle bisectors. Woo, let me think a minute. I need angle bisectors for each of these. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my compass, I'm going to make it smaller, and I'm going to draw a circle inside my circle. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this ray, to this point where the circle hits my edge, and I'm going to draw a mark on this side. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay? Then I'm going to go to this ray, I'm going to cross, and that mark wasn't low enough, so we just go back and make it. So I'm here, right, and I draw a mark. And I go to this side and draw a mark. Okay? Then I go to this one and draw a mark, cross, and I go here, cross that one, and I'm still at this point and I cross that one. So now these are angle bisectors, okay? Now, if you notice when you draw these in, that this angle bisector should line up with this one, right? So there's an angle bisector. And this angle bisector should line up here. Okay? Now, notice I have 8 segments. So I just connect, grab a shorter ruler, my sides. Nobody has ever asked why I go across. It's because typically the one across is parallel. So these two sides are parallel and these two sides are parallel. And if I have my ruler at this angle, then to go across to this one, I don't have to rotate my ruler or my paper. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is an octagon. And you're done. Okay? And so that concludes the appendix number 2. And I have one more appendix that has more basics. Ooh, maybe I should move this so you can see it. How's that? There's your octagon. Yay! So we'll stop and I'll pick you up on the last group work.